One of the most important thing to understand whenever you're trying to form some type of an evaluation or review of our culture, you have to look at what is and isn't popular anymore, what changes, what people like, what people don't like, what people focus on. And one of the most interesting that has occurred recently is that involving this fellow called Stephen Colbert. He goes by the name Colbert. I like Colbert. And what Stephen Colbert has done is he was the most virulent of this new form of idiocy in which he formed a. I mean, it wasn't just anti Trump, it was beyond anti Trump. It was like nothing I've ever seen before or anything I could even remotely imagine. And what I find interesting, what I find incredibly interesting out of all of this discussion and the like, is that they never really saw it coming and they really don't understand it. And a lot of people were trying to protest Letterman and others, and they were doing their best. Thank you, Fred, for letting me know we're coming through. Anyway, these people don't really understand where they fit. Now, one of the funniest things I saw that occurred, this was really, really good, was there was a rally that was organized to protest the cancellation of Colbert's flagship show. And it fell flat with 20 people showing up. Organizers gathered outside of the CBS broadcast center in New York, not too far from us, on Sunday with fewer than 24 people appearing to protest. The group staged the We're with Colbert protest as they called for integrity after CBS announced the cancellation of this decade-long show. The New York Post spoke with those who had gathered, with the one protester telling the outlet, quote, "This is a First Amendment attack. We can't stand for that." Images taken at the protest show a number gathering outside of the building, holding banners and placards, and some saying, "I'm with Colbert." It was interesting why they protested at the broadcast center versus in front of the studio. I don't know. The Ed Sullivan Theater. Paramount, which owns CBS, decided to cancel for $16 million in a suit over deceptive editing of 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. Colbert then used the term big fat bribe to describe the settlement. 2 days later, it was announced that his show would disappear from screens because he thought he could do whatever he wanted to. And they just didn't understand that that's over with. And what he doesn't understand, and others have to grasp, is that we're not necessarily crazy about Trump. We're crazy about the cause. We're crazy about getting the country back on track. But we're not Trump lunatics by any stretch of the imagination. We are not in any way lunatics. We are not people who are crazy or demented or forced into some kind of a mindset. I got to tell you something, which is the most important and the most critical. And this is something which is really important. We're in the middle right now of something which is so terrific. And I think we're wasting a lot of time talking about this Epstein business, which I don't think has really any evidence or any real relevance to most people. I think I personally am so Epsteined out. I don't even know. I mean, I really, I've talked about this to the point where I did an hour with my good friend Sean Atwood today. And that'll be dropping later on Lionel Nation. And I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it anymore. And what's really important and what's really critical, and I mean this more than anything else, is that we have so much to do right now. And it's important for us and critical for us to maintain some degree of, I guess you'd call it maybe some kind of, I don't know, focus, some kind of critical thinking. But going back to the whole Colbert thing, it shows you how it's all over. This whole world, it's changed drastically. And again, it's not because we're crazily lunatic in favor of Trump. It's that his attitude, what lost me the most was COVID. But here it is. You would think somebody would say, listen, I have to get hundreds of people there. Now, there are organizations, there are these rent-a crowds, literally, these rent-a-crowd groups where people will invite folks to show up and to make it look like there's a big crowd. 20 people showing up? Dear God. Dear God. Do you know how horrid that is? They didn't even think of having that. You would think his friends, these are millionaires. You think they would be able to say, okay, let's put some cash together and let's put together some performance artists and let's see if people can, pretend as though they care. They couldn't even do that because they don't care about optics. They feel, and this is the most important, they feel as though what they're doing has nothing to do with rational thought. They don't have to worry anymore about being correct. The president is doing so many things right now. I'm very concerned about the Epstein case because it was handled so incredibly poorly. Pilgrim Media says, do they get a box lunch for showing up? Believe it or not, it's funny you say that. They used to have pizza. There was something years ago called Occupy Wall Street, and they were a part of a group called OTPOR, OTPOR. And the OTPOR was a group of folks who decided you could basically organize folks to show up, literally. And they were downtown at Zadroga, whatever park is, whatever this park was, this little area. And they were all organized. And Atpor is part of an organization where you can go to these countries and you can say, I'm looking for I guess you'd call it, I'm looking for a revolution. They can tell you exactly how to put on groups, chants, music, placards, slogans. It's what they did during the Maidan revolution. So that's that. So it's just so wonderful. And the thing about it is that Colbert doesn't understand. It's over. The late night thing is over. Many of us remember what, Johnny Carson was. They remember that time. Johnny Carson and Jack Barnes, Steve Allen. It was a wonderful time. But it's over. When you are sitting around and you can literally, I saw today Theo Vaughn blasting Netanyahu and Israel. My God, I'm seeing things that I can't even believe are happening. It's a whole nother world. And what I'm seeing more than anything else is a different everything. So people like Colbert, which were offshoots of Letterman, offshoots of The Daily Show, offshoots of the time. Daily Show was pretty doggone good. But this was before the internet. The internet has, I'm watching, you could watch 100 different shows a day if that's what you wanted. Nobody needs this anymore. Pilgrim says, did the dinosaurs know it was over? They didn't know at first, but they pretty much caught on. And it's one of the things which is really critical. I tell people when I'm doing the WABC piece, I said, don't understand. Don't think for one moment that you are living or basking in some world of radio greatness or that people are going to listen because you have, how do I say this? Because you have been a part of a great radio station. It doesn't work like that. People are only going to find you interesting if you do something which is interesting and which is noteworthy. So anyway, so today the big story was, I still think it's the end of this entire way of thinking. It was also great to see, I think, getting to the end of what appears to be, I think, is going to be the end of this Epstein case. The president has got to just turn his back on everybody and just say, look, enough. I'm not talking about it anymore. I don't know what he's going to do regarding Ghislaine, because if he doesn't grant her immunity, or if he doesn't grant her a commutation, people are going to say, well, what are you going to do? What is your plan? And that's a different story. So we'll see what happens. In any event, we'll see how everybody's doing. What is on your mind today, dear friends? What is on your great mind? What are you thinking? What is of your opinion? I'm kind of finding that we're hitting a bit of a nadir in terms of this. I said UK economics. I meant EU instead, which is fine. The socialists and closet Marxists are being rooted out. Do you think they are socialists are being rooted out? Bearable pain. How are socialists? And what is a closet Marxist? What is a closet Marxist? I know I get into this, and I find myself always asking this. Define Marxism. What does that mean to you? We have a fellow named Zoran Mamdani who is running for president, and people use the word, socialist and Marxist and Leninist and all this other kind of stuff, and they really can't explain it. Communist, and they really can't explain it. Can you do it? Because I think we need to have people explain more of what's going on here. I don't think people really grasp what that concept is. In any event, have you seen also Sunday night, Sunday Best or Sunday, the Netflix piece on Ed Sullivan? Please see this. Please make it a point to see it. Please, I beg you. It is one of the best pieces ever. What else is the big story for tomorrow, do you think? What's going to be the story? Marxism seems absolutely cultist. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I know where you're heading. I know what you want to do ultimately. But let's think ultimately, specifically about what we're looking at. Yes, first start with Marx's works, the manifesto which he was commissioned to write. No, bearable. Marxist today. What is a closet Marxist today? Do you think anybody today is actually emulating and following Marxist struggle, class struggle? Do you think anybody who is following that? Do you think anybody does? I don't. I don't think anybody knows what that is. I don't think anybody cares what that is. They couldn't tell you the difference between socialism and Marxism and the like. Okay, L, what is YouTube doing for your channel? What is YouTube doing to your channel? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Karen Bass, Mayorkas. What about Karen Bass? What about Mayorkas? Again, I beg you, dear friends, to write, if you're going to comment, in English, a sentence, a thought that is complete, that conveys something you're trying to convey, and something that does not necessarily respond with what? Huh? That's the most important. That's the most important. You want something that does not, if I could read it, where I know precisely what it is you're saying. Secular theology. What does that mean? They are closet Marxists. I apologize for my brevity, my good sir. Again, why are they closet Marxists? Define that. I submit to you, no, they're not. They couldn't tell you what Marxism is. They couldn't tell you the first thing about it. That's a word that you use to kind of communist socialist to define this kind of a radical leftist, almost I guess you'd almost call it almost like a welfare type of world. But that it's not, believe me, they are not Marxists. They couldn't tell you the first thing about it. There are parts of Marxism. There are provisions. There were theories. There were rules. It's not just this. Let's I don't know. And totalitarian is not necessarily a part of the manifesto, but that's okay. I understand. I know what you're getting at, but I would venture to say it's not Marxism. It's not Marxism in the least. It is not Marxism in the least. One of our friends writes the number 1. I don't know what that means. Again, I don't know what that means. So, my friends, it has been a hot and a horrible day. It's 93 right now in New York City. And it's a hot, dark, nasty 93. It's deep. It is embedded within the buildings. It's all trapped. It's a horrible 93. It's really nasty. So I'm going to say to you and yours, I'm going to have a great day for the rest of my day. Please make sure you listen tomorrow at 1 to 5 overnight on WABC. Please listen. Catch me there, WABC, 1 to 5. And until then, my friends, thank you so much for your kindness. Pilgrim, thank you for your kindness, and thank you for listening. We will talk to you later. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for a part of this. And please follow up later. Let us continue the discussion elsewhere. As I always say, comment as you see fit, and the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.